So for the retake video, we're going to simply do a couple quick examples where we do all three methods of finding the area of a trapezoid. Okay, the first method is splitting up into three shapes, and sometimes it's actually two shapes, which I'm going to show you in the next example. So just splitting up. Number two is turning the trapezoid into a rectangle. That's the method my wife really likes. And then the third one is going to be the traditional algorithm. And we should be getting the same answer all three ways. So for our first problem, this is actually one of the examples where you only actually need two shapes. We can break this up into a rectangle and a triangle. Well, the area of the rectangle, so we're going to call this method 1. We'll put it right up here. So the area of the rectangle is going to be 40 square centimeters. And that's because base times height, or base times height, is going to be 40. Then we need to figure out what this length here is. Well, if this length is 5, that means this length here has to also be 5, because 5 plus 5 equals our total of 10. And this length here is actually going to stay as 8. Okay, so then we get 8 times 5 is 40, and 40 divided by 2 ends up giving us 20 square centimeters. So for method 1, we end up getting 60 square centimeters, and that's our answer. For method 2, and this is kind of a trick, we're supposed to create a rectangle from our shapes. And that usually means we take this triangle and we move it to the other side where the other triangle was. But that is actually gone in this problem. It is impossible to do that triangle and move it over. Therefore, kind of a trick. Strategy number 2 is actually not possible for this problem, which is okay, because we have 2 other strategies that are possible. Strategy number 3 is simply the traditional algorithm, which is the average of the bases times the height of the trapezoid. Well, the average of the bases is going to be 5 plus 10 divided by 2. Or, what number is halfway between 5 and 10? Either way, you're going to get, and I'm going to write it, I'm going to erase this and rewrite it. You're going to get 7.5 either way, 7.5. You can write that as a decimal. We then take that times the height of the trapezoid, which is 8. And wouldn't you know it, we get 60 square centimeters both ways. So sometimes that strategy 2 does not work. For our next problem, strategy 2 is actually very effective. So let's do one more here. So strategy 1, we're going to do it in green this time, is we split it up into 3 shapes. Now this time we can split it into 3 shapes: triangle, rectangle, and triangle. Let's try to draw that line again. Triangle, rectangle, and triangle. There we go. So if this is 10, that makes this small piece here 10. And then we have 14 left over between this piece and this piece. And 14 divided by 2 makes this have to be 7 and this have to be 7. So that's 7 plus 10 plus 7 is equal to 24. Once we have that, we can actually just start finding the area of all of our parts. 7 times 7 is 49. 49 divided by 2, and we're going to just write it up here, is 24.5. That makes this one over here also 24.5. And then the middle is going to have an area of 70, because 7 times 10 is 70. Well, 24.5 plus 24.5 is 49. And 49 plus 70 is going to be 119 square feet. So this strategy gave us the answer of 119 square feet by breaking it up into triangle, rectangle, and triangle. Strategy 2 is instead of doing triangle, rectangle, triangle, we're going to cut out this triangle over here, and we are going to move it over here. There we go. And we end up creating a rectangle. So if we're able to cover this up in our head, and we'll even put a little rectangle over here. There we go. We end up getting a length of 17 and the height of 7. So we do 17 times 7. And if I do 17 times 7 with our algorithm, once again, we end up getting 119 square feet. So there is our answer for number 1 and number 2. So let's delete that triangle and that one for our final method, which is the traditional algorithm. And for the traditional algorithm, once again, we're doing the average of the bases times the height of the trapezoid. Well, the bases are 10 and 24. So if I do 10 plus 24 divided by 2, I end up getting 34 divided by 2, which is 17. And I simply take my 17 times my 7, and look at that. Strategy 2 and strategy 3 end up being incredibly similar to each other at the end, and we get 119 square feet. So we showed you all 3 methods to find the area of a trapezoid. At any time, if you have any questions, please let me know.